TV voice of the Houston Astros on AT&T Sportsnet, Todd Kalas. Todd, it's Jake and BK today. Happy Friday, and I hope you had a great All-Star break.
I did, guys. I had an extended break. I haven't worked in a week, so I'm ready to go. I'm refreshed, relaxed, and excited for the matchup tonight against Shohei and the Angels.
Todd, do broadcasters get rusty after like a week of not calling games? Like, is it like a starting pitcher that maybe hasn't thrown a while? Like, it might take them an inning or two to get their location back?
Yeah, I might have to find out tonight. Fans will have to let me know after the first couple of innings. But I just think, I maybe. But usually that first game or two in spring training, we're trying to get our timing down again. But hopefully a week won't impact me at all. It's been a good time to be off. I got to go to not far from where you guys are. Went down to Galveston for a day and then spent the rest of the time mostly around Houston.
Fantastic. So you mentioned Shohei Ohtani starting tonight. What a way to start the second half. JP France goes for the Astros. I mean, anytime you get a chance to call an Ohtani game, Todd, what goes through your mind as a broadcaster watching it unfold?
What goes through my mind tonight is I wonder if this is the last time we're going to see Shohei Ohtani in an Angels uniform. I mean, it is so special. He's the best player I've ever witnessed in my 31 years of baseball calling games, and even before that as a fan. He's the most talented player and the best player. There's no way you can deny that based on what he does at an elite level as a pitcher and a hitter. The Astros have been able to beat him a couple of times this year. Hopefully they'll make it 3 in a row tonight. But, yeah, all the rumors and all the speculation is out there right now that the Angels might at least consider a deal for Shohei so that if they lose him this year in the offseason as a free agent, they would only get compensation back. They could certainly do a lot better than that if they decide to trade him. But all depends on how the Angels do here in the next week or two. I would think if they start winning games and they feel like they're in it, they'll keep Shohei. If they lose games and they feel like they're out of it and they get a huge offer from somebody, then maybe this is the last time the Astros see Shohei in an Angels uniform.
Well, based on that, TK, I've got to ask the follow-up. Do you think the Astros will be in on Shohei Ohtani, and do you think the Astros maybe should be in on Shohei Ohtani at the trade deadline?
So none of the national pundits have put the Astros in as one of the candidates, but I don't see why not. And people say, well, they would probably not trade him to a team within their division. But if they're thinking about trading Shohei, which I don't think is high on their list right now, I think it's something that they have to at least consider, but I don't think it's likely at this point. Again, it depends on what the Angels do in the next 2 weeks. But then people are like, well, they won't trade him within the division. But if you're not thinking about making it to the postseason in 2023, if you do trade Shohei, then it really doesn't matter because you're basically trading a guy for 2 months as a rental, and then he'll be a free agent, and then the world is going to try and sign him for a ridiculous number. So having said all that, yes, I would love to see the Astros be in the mix for Shohei. How much would they have to give up? Do they have enough to give up at the minor league level and maybe partly at the major league level to still be able to go after Shohei along with some other teams that want to go after him? We'll see. But, yeah, I would love for Jim Crane and Dana Brown to be aggressive and get in the bidding if, in fact, Shohei is available.
Todd Kalas joining us here on the HRP guest line, presented by the Daspit Law Firm and Academy Sports and Outdoors. Second half of the season starts tonight for the Astros, Todd. They're just 2 games behind the Rangers despite all the injuries and some of the poor performances by guys they were expecting better from. When you look at this team right now, what are some of the biggest keys for the Astros to win that American League West?
Yeah, I think health, obviously. They haven't had that lineup healthy all year long, and a little bit of a tough news today. We thought Jordan was going to begin his rehab today at Sugar Land, but that's going to take a little bit of a break. Hopefully tomorrow, maybe the next day we'll find out, but he's sick, so he's not going to play tonight in the first game of his rehab for Sugar Land. But hopefully that just, delays his return to the Astros by just 24 hours. But he's a guy that only needed 3 days of spring training to get ready, never played back-to-back days this spring, and then came out of the gates firing starting opening day. So I think it's just a matter of him getting a few reps and he should be ready to go. Altuve worked out here before the game. He's probably a week behind Jordan. Hopefully we'll see those 2 guys back in the lineup. And then after that, Jose Urquidy and maybe Michael Brantley as well will join the team. And if all those guys are healthy, or 2/3 or 3/4 of those guys are healthy, I think the team is going to be in much better shape. And I think Dana Brown's probably going to try and be aggressive at the trade deadline and maybe try and add an arm. There's been a lot of guys that have used up a lot of innings that are on pace for a career high in that category. So I think getting another arm in addition to Jose Urquidy getting healthy is going to kind of yield great benefits for the staff if they can find somebody at the trade deadline.
Yeah, Ty, we've been debating this on the show. You brought up Yordan Alvarez, and yeah, I don't expect his rehab stint to be super long with the Space Cowboys, but you think maybe like the Astros would consider slow playing it a little bit just because of how often this guy gets hurt, because of how important he is to this team's success? Obviously, they've got bigger games to play later in the season and hopefully in the playoffs again. Is that something that's maybe on the Astros' mind when they try to figure out exactly when to call Yordan back up?
That could be. I think they're going to err on the side of caution to your question. I don't think they're going to make him available unless he's 100% ready to go. But if you think back to the beginning of the season when he had that hand injury, they did give him a couple of days off at the beginning of the season. And then he had that stretch where he had to go back to Houston. He missed the Tampa Bay series and missed the first game of the Phillies series back at Minute Maid Park. But then after that first game against Philadelphia, he played 37 in a row leading up to that injury in Toronto when the oblique gave out on him. So I don't think they're going to probably play him 37 in a row again the rest of the year. I think they're going to be a little more cautious with that. But I also think that if he's ready to go and he says he's 100%, they're not going to wait. 71 games to go. Every game's critical. You can't really sit back and wait too long for Yordan. So as soon as he says he's ready, I think the Astros will put him back in the lineup, hopefully at some point on this road trip.
Todd Kalas with us here on the HR&P guest line talking all things Astros. Jose Urquidy, Todd, obviously Yordan the big headliner with the rehab stint that's supposed to start soon with the Space Cowboys. Urquidy, though, part of that rehab stint as well. How important could he be down the stretch for this Astros team?
Yeah, he's going to be huge. I mean, J.P. France is one of the guys who I talked about earlier who's on a pace for by far his most career innings. A lot of guys in the bullpen are in the same situation because the starting pitchers have been used third most innings, I believe, in all of baseball so far, or at least maybe in the American League third most innings. But they went from a team who was last in relievers innings needed last year to this year really needing a bunch of relievers innings. So a lot of those guys are going to need some breathers at some point, whether that means Jose Urquidy in addition to a guy at the trade deadline, maybe they go to a six-man rotation. They're going to start to have to figure out a way to alleviate some of these paces that they're on, including J.P. France tonight, including Hunter Brown, who will probably pitch, I would think, in Colorado since he's not scheduled against the Angels, and including, guys that have been in that rotation before. Christian Javier got a break before the All-Star break, but he's on a career-high pace if he stays on the current track. So, yeah, Urquidy's big because he can eat up innings and he can give guys a breather. And he's big because he's been there and done that in the biggest moments beginning in his rookie season in the World Series. So, yeah, getting him back will definitely be a boost. But having said that, I do believe they need one more pitcher beyond that. A lot of teams are going to be looking at pitching at the trade deadline, but I think the Astros definitely need one more to get to that finish line and have a real legitimate shot at going back-to-back this year.
Yeah, Todd, I asked this knowing that it's mid-July, but it feels like Sunday's a pretty important start for Christian Javier just based on the way he kind of limped into the All-Star break. How big of a deal is it for him and also for the Astros to get the old Christian Javier back?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to tonight's game, obviously, Ohtani versus the Astros. I'm looking forward to seeing Fromber tomorrow. I think he's right now the front runner for the American League Cy Young Award. And then Christian Javier on Sunday to wrap up the series. That's a huge start for him. It's a huge start for his confidence level. He never gets too high. He never gets too low. We call him El Reptiles. You guys know. You can barely tell when he's flustered on the mound. And he has not pitched anywhere close to what we have seen in his career in the last month and a half even. So that needs to get corrected. He needs to figure it out. It's somewhere in there. Hopefully he gets it figured out sooner than later because he's a guy that they're going to probably count on as one of their top 2 or 3 guys in the postseason if and when they get there. So Javi needs to figure it out sooner than later, and hopefully Sunday's the start of him bouncing back after a long layoff in between starts.
Todd, you've been around the Astros a long time already. You've been around baseball your whole life. Can you recall an American League that kind of feels as wide open as it does this year? It seems like there's some really good teams, but no one that you're looking at going, man, that's the best team, clearly. Like, you look at the National League, you got the Braves, and it feels like everyone's chasing them, but the AL feels wide open. Can you recall a similar year where it's felt this way?
Probably not, at least not recently. You're right. It feels like any team can get hot and be that number 1 or number 2 seed out of a group of maybe 7 or 8 teams right now in the American League. Obviously, Tampa Bay is still the top team. The Baltimore Orioles are right on their heels, though, just a couple of games back. And the Texas Rangers, obviously, had a big start to their season, and right now they would be the number 2 seed if the playoffs started today. But it is wide open. Obviously, the Yankees will get better when Aaron Judge comes back. I saw that he was taking BP today in the cage for the first time in a while on the field. So he would obviously be a big boost like Jordan will be to the Astros. So it's going to be a really fun last 71 games. The Astros have played 91. They have 71 to go. Leading up to the trade deadline is going to be a very interesting time for a lot of teams. And then beyond that, it just gets better and better as you get down into the pennant races. So, yeah, the Astros could easily be a 1 or 2 seed, or they could be fighting for a wild card spot. They are right now in that wild card mix, but hopefully they can pass Texas and stay on top of a division that they have owned for the last 5 out of 6 years.
Todd, have a tremendous call tonight. Welcome back to that broadcast booth, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Hopefully I'm not too rusty. We'll find out.
The great Todd Kalas with us there on the HRP guest line presented by the Daspit Law Firm and Academy Sports and Outdoors. I mean, I stink at play-by-play, BK. I used to do it, like, in college and some freelance. One of my first, like, couple broadcasting gigs was freelance play-by-play. Mm-hmm. I'm awful at it, but if I ever, like, got into a groove, I'd be much better because with reps you get experience.
Sure.
But if you had that, like, long layoff and then you get back, I'd be terrible.
I've got faith in TK. I think he is going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's a little bit better than college you at play-by-play, I would think.
I was so bad, man. You know what my biggest issue was? I couldn't remember the names.
It's a big issue.
It's a big issue. You know, you got to do, like, the play-by-play guys, like, you got to have almost like a photographic memory, like, name to number, and it's just like, boom, it's quick. Like, if it was the home team, you know the same guys, but if you're talking about, like, learning a brand-new football roster every week and having to name the number and know it really quick, not easy to do.
Do you have audio of any of this?
I probably could find some.
Let's play it on the air next week.
Well, it's fitting because Chump of the Week is coming up in the next segment. Chump of the Week is next. Who made some of the biggest mistakes on the station this week? I guess we'll find out next here on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.